Hi Sarang.
Hello, hi.
So we have Sarang here today to answer all our questions related to vaccination, COVID vaccines and all. Sarang, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm great. Just keeping safe, and I hope all your viewers, yourself, everyone does the same.
Yeah,
Follow
yeah,
rules,
at home.
everyone.
Yeah. So Sarang, before we start off, can you just tell your background a bit?
Yeah, so I'm a doctor. I'm a postgraduate student doing my residency in ophthalmology at Osmania Medical College, and I did my MBBS from AFMC Pune.
Okay.
So I think I can help solve a few basic doubts about vaccines, hopefully, and we can cover a few aspects.
Yeah. So for a lay person, now just imagine I know nothing about the vaccination or the COVID vaccines. If you have to explain it to a lay person, what would you explain? Like, how would you explain?
I would just say that one should understand what a vaccine is, first of all. And so, vaccine is any product which is derived from the microorganism or the virus which is causing a disease. And it is supposed to sensitize or uh, make the body recognize the antigen or the virus that is at the earliest, and also to arm it to have a stronger response than normally it would generally have. So therefore, once the body has already been sensitized to a vaccine, to a virus, it will recognize it fast. The immune action against it will be stronger, and the chances of you getting a serious infection definitely goes down by a large extent.
Okay. So that's the main purpose of vaccination as such.
So that's what a vaccine is. A vaccine can either be an inactivated microorganism, or it can be just be a protein which has been derived from the microorganism. Anything which the body can recognize and therefore replicate in the future is a vaccine.
Okay. So can you explain to us about the COVID vaccines too?
So what we're doing in the COVID vaccine program is that COVID is a name for coronavirus, and since we all know it was discovered in 2019 in China, so it's called coronavirus SARS virus 19. So what we do in the vaccination program is either we take the virus in its entirety, and through a chemical process we either inactivate it or we extract the DNA of the
Okay.
virus, and that inactivated virus or the DNA segment is then repackaged and injected into our body.
Hmm.
Once that virus particle enters into the body in this controlled manner, the body recognizes it, the immune system mounts a response against it, and through this process, we have memory cells in the body. So, whenever an infection takes place, memory cells are generated. So what will happen is this memory cells, so next in the future, when you get a natural infection, the memory cells will recognize it faster because they're already present in the body. And
Okay.
they will tell the immune system that this is a pathogen that we are aware of, that we know is a pathogen, so please act against it. And therefore the body will act in a much more stronger way against the coronavirus. And the chances of you getting a serious infection go down by a substantial amount.
Okay. So it's not like you take this and you're not going to get affected. It's nothing like that.
No, I think that's not a. All right. So, in generalization terms, that's the right thing to say. Anyone who's been vaccinated can definitely also get the infection again.
Mm-hmm.
But the vaccines are designed in such a way that you're not supposed to get a serious reaction to the infection.
Okay.
So, and trials have shown that all the vaccines that are currently available and that have been authorized by WHO and in India, all are 100% effective against hospitalization. And that's what we are most concerned about.
Okay. So can you tell us the vaccines that are available in India?
So currently in India, we've got three vaccines which are available. The
Mm-hmm.
two ones which we're all aware of, which have been present since the beginning of the year, are the Covaxin vaccine, which was generated in India by the Hyderabad-based Bharat Biotech company, and then we have Covishield, which is actually the Indian name for the AstraZeneca Oxford vaccine.
Okay.
And from May onwards, we've also given approval for Sputnik V, which is going to come up, which is the Russian vaccine designed in Moscow, which is has been approved in India, which but still hasn't appeared so on the in the for all of our use.
Now, currently, we have these two vaccines available. So, and now the third one's also going to come. So, how can we choose like which one do we take? Are there any preferences or anything like that?
I would say no. There's really no difference because the thing is ki a vaccine generation and a vaccine trial is a decades long process actually. And this process has been done in the past 1 year. So there hasn't been enough time to conduct a large number of trials on the existing vaccines. The drug companies, WHO, the European Medical Agency, that is the EMA, and the US FDA, they've all conducted trials. They've all been analyzing vaccines. But there are a variety of ways of analyzing the vaccines. But what is very clear is that all the vaccines at the moment have 100% effectiveness against hospitalization.
Okay.
And all of them are more than 70% effective against even minor and mild infections.
Okay.
So just to give you statistics, now Covaxin has an effectiveness of 78% against minor infections. And AstraZeneca has an effectiveness of 66%. But but the way the trials have been conducted are different. But what the bottom line really very clearly says, ki they are equally effective against hospitalization, which is 100%.
Okay.
And a 60% effectiveness against minor infection is the best result that we've achieved so far in the history of all vaccines. So I really feel no one should feel anything that one vaccine is better than the other. They're all equally good. And whatever is available, I feel you should take it.
Okay. So nothing in particular, ki elders should take this, youngsters probably can take this, nothing like that.
Nothing like that, no.
Okay. And other thing is, are there any side effects of taking a vaccine?
So generally what happens is that vaccines, all vaccines, like I just explained, are actually particles which are derived from the microorganism itself. So they will definitely cause some reaction in the body. In general, from now we'll talk about the coronavirus only.
Yeah.
So all the vaccines are given intramuscularly. Therefore, that is an injection is given. It is generally given into your shoulder muscles. That is the deltoid that we call. So when a vaccine will be given, it will cause pain at the area. You will have a bit of soreness there. There might be swelling, there might be redness. You might have a bit of fever for 1 or 2 days, or body pain or headache. You might feel like you might have low mood, lack of appetite. But beyond that, none of these COVID vaccines have shown anything significant beyond that.
Okay.
So these are the general reactions which people get to a vaccine. You can take paracetamol for it, take rest for a couple of days, and you should be fine. Now, all vaccines also have a potential to cause an allergic reaction. But the rate of allergic reactions with coronavirus vaccines has been shown to be very low. Your viewers should be alert ki what is an allergic reaction and in what scenario they should really go to a doctor.
Okay.
So, for example, now you have the vaccine and after 1 or 2 days, you get rashes on your skin. You have a lot of itching. You get swelling around your lips, around your throat. You feel as if there's difficulty in breathing. That constitutes an allergic reaction. And that is the time I think you should go to a doctor and you should report your symptoms.
Okay.
But signs like pain at the injection site, redness at the injection site is a common thing after any intramuscular injection and should not worry anyone significantly. Paracetamol really works very well against these kind of reactions.
Okay. So what is your say? You think like everyone should go get their vaccination done?
Yes, I am totally for vaccination because vaccines have twofold action. One, they protect yourself. But recent trials are showing that vaccines are also effective in preventing transmission to your near ones. So theoretically, you get a vaccine and you get an infection by your unfortunate event, you get the virus even after vaccination. But trials have shown that the chance of transmitting it goes down by up to 70%. So you're not only helping yourself, you're even helping your near ones by taking the vaccine.
Okay. So we also did ask a few people to put on their questions and then they did ask the question. So let me jump into that.
Sure.
So one question was, can patients with mild liver fibrosis under medication take the vaccine?
Yeah, you can take the vaccine. Nothing to worry about.
Okay, so you're saying people with any kind of medical conditions in general can take it, but any particular medical conditions where it's better to be avoided?
Yeah, so there are a few things that one should be aware of.
Mm-hmm.
So first and number one, right now, COVID vaccines are not prescribed for people who are pregnant or
Okay.
expecting to become pregnant. They are planning a pregnancy, or if right now they are lactating and breastfeeding.
Okay.
So that's a strict contraindication for vaccination. Besides this, there are people who might be taking blood thinners
Mm-hmm.
for any condition. They should also avoid getting vaccinated. Now,
Okay.
blood thinners can come in various ways. The most common thing is people take Ecosprin for once they've had a heart attack. Those people can go get the vaccine. There are people who have hemophilia, for example, they should not be taking vaccination.
Okay.
Besides these, there are also conditions like, for example, now someone gets a coronavirus infection.
Hmm.
So they should wait for up to 2 weeks, and then once 2 weeks have passed since then, when they have recovered completely, then they should get the vaccine.
So when you say recovered, matlab, so they should get their test again. They should test negative. Then you can take after 2 weeks after that.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Okay.
And also, someone who's currently positive should not go and get it, because one, so we don't know, we're not exactly sure how the vaccine will react in that such a scenario. And also, you go to a vaccine center, it's be crowded. The chances of spreading it to someone also rises, so avoidable.
Okay. So, but these are the major kind of sect of people who should probably avoid taking the vaccine.
Yeah, and another point I'd like to add is that there are people who've got diabetes, who've got heart conditions, who might be taking chemotherapy because they're recovering from cancer. These people should actually be more encouraged to go and take the vaccine, because their immune system is already damaged at this point. It is already under stress. So it'll be, so once if they get the virus, they'll be in greater chance of getting hospitalized, getting severe form of the virus. So they should actually go and get the vaccine as soon as possible.
That's so true.
Yeah, very important that people should not hesitate about the vaccine. There are a lot of rumors, there are a lot of reports in the media which keep coming on, but nothing significant has been shown. And you even have reports of like very serious adverse effects, but the incidence rates and the chances are so less that it's better to go for the vaccine than to avoid it.
Yeah.
Like, I'd like to give an example. Like, we keep hearing in the news these days that one day AstraZeneca will be approved, then the European agency will might stop it, then one day Germany stops it, then someday France approves it. Especially out of Europe and US, a lot of reports are coming, especially against the AstraZeneca virus, the vaccine, which is Covishield. But the statistics are so low that even now it has not been proven that the vaccine was the cause of the adverse reaction. So I feel at this point we should avoid these rumors and these reports. But of course, once someone takes the vaccine, you should be alert for any weird symptoms or any unusual signs and symptoms that you're facing. And I feel if you're alert and if you're careful, it is totally safe to take the vaccine.
Okay. So, is there any procedure for taking the vaccine, the before and the afters, the do's and don'ts?
There are no do's and don'ts as such, just that you have to register on the CoWIN app, and then you have to find out the nearest vaccine center which is there. Currently, a lot of places are reporting in a lot of states across India that vaccines, there is a shortage going on. So I think people in the age group of 18 to 45 should actually really first find out from their nearest vaccine center whether vaccines are really available or not. Because you'll go to such an area, there'll be a lot of crowding there. So you're more at risk at that point of time. But as of now, a lot of state governments have also advised people in this age group not to come.
Okay.
But people above 45 should definitely register in CoWIN and every day keep finding out which is the nearest center, are vaccines available, and they should go at the earliest. Wear a mask and go. A double cloth mask has come in trend and it's quite effective. But I would suggest when you go to a vaccine center, wear N95, because a lot of people will be there. So I think that's a smart thing to do.
Okay. We'll go to the next question. Is COVID vaccine safe for a person with asthma?
Yes, you can go and you can take with, in fact, a person with asthma has a higher risk of getting a bad COVID reaction. So I feel you should go and take a vaccine.
Okay. And we have actually two, three people ask the same question, which is like, which vaccine is good, Covaxin or Covishield?
Like we discussed right in the beginning, there's really no difference between the vaccines. Whichever is available, please take it. One should not be hearing rumors ki Sputnik is coming or even Moderna or Pfizer is coming. All vaccines are very good. All the trials are showing 100% effectiveness against serious infection, that is hospitalization. And that's all that really counts. So I feel everyone should take it.
Okay. And another sub this thing of this question is, what is actually the difference between these two vaccines, Covaxin and Covishield?
All right, so I won't get into the complexities much. We'll keep it to the basics.
Yeah.
Covaxin is developed totally in India. It is by Bharat Biotech. Covishield is by AstraZeneca. It is just being manufactured by Serum Institute of India. And within India, we call it Covishield.
Okay.
Then the technology is different. Bharat Biotech is based on the traditional technology. What they've done is they've taken the coronavirus, they've the through a chemical process, they've inactivated the virus. Then they've incorporated it into their injections and they're injecting it into our bodies. Once the inactivated virus enters the body, the immune system recognizes the spike proteins that we've all heard about, which are there on the virus, and an immune response is activated, memory cells are created, and you're vaccinated and you're immune to the virus to a large extent. The Covishield, that is the AstraZeneca virus, is slightly more advanced. What it does is it takes a chimpanzee virus, which is known as it's called the Chadox S1 CoV9 virus. So, and they've removed the ability of that virus to replicate in our body. Therefore, it's a totally benign virus at this point of time. Then what they take is they take the particular segment of the coronavirus, and they inject it into this benign chimpanzee virus. And this new recombinant virus is injected into our bodies. Okay. Our body again recognizes the mRNA, the DNA segment which is there in this virus. That DNA segment inside our body, it synthesizes the spike proteins which the coronavirus has. Once the spike protein is there in our body, again the memory cells will recognize it, and the immune system will become sensitized. So it is just a different way of approaching the problem. The final aim is that the body should recognize the coronavirus or some segment of the coronavirus, and then we'll be able to generate an immune response against it.
Okay. And also a point which I'd want to discuss is about the number of doses. So after the first time we get it, we got to take a second shot also, right?
Definitely.
So why is that necessary, and the time gap between both the things? Can you tell us about that too?
So again, we have to understand how the immune system works. Like we've been talking so far, the basic modality or the way a vaccine works is you inject it, the body recognizes it, and you mount an immune reaction against it. So what these vaccines do is they give you the first dose, and the first time the body recognizes it. So great, we've got an immune response against it, we've got memory cells, and we're sensitized to it. So, but that might not be effective, or that might not be effective enough for us to feel secure. So what we do is we take a second dose. Another time the body recognizes it. Again, the memory cells are sensitized, and they've been sensitized twice. So they're more robust in their action in the future in case you get a real infection.
Okay. So, but 2 times is the maximum.
2 times is the maximum, and 2 times is also the minimum. Everyone must go for 2 times. 1 time, it serves no purpose. You'll be only immune against the virus for 2 to 3 weeks. And after that, you're just like a person who's not got the vaccine.
Okay. And what's the time gap that should be there between one and another one?
So again, one should recognize the Covaxin, you have to wait for 1 month. Okay. And Covishield, you have to wait for 3 months.
Between the first dose and the second dose?
Yes.
Okay. Why is there so much of gap difference?
So this is all on the basis of trials which have been conducted and how they're analyzing the people and how the immune response is being generated against coronavirus.
Okay.
So AstraZeneca initially actually came out with a 4 week difference, 4 week gap protocol, which is
Hmm.
a conventional one similar to Covaxin.
Hmm.
Then trials were conducted in US, Brazil, UK. Then they made it 6 weeks. Then they analyzed further, and then they found that 12 weeks is the ideal time as of now when
Okay.
the immune response is the strongest.
Okay. The next question was, what health complications should be considered before getting either of the vaccines?
Like we discussed, so what
Yeah.
to avoid and what to go for. Avoid in term of pregnancy, lactation, presently active coronavirus infection, or just recovered within 2 week period. Also, a person who's got a bleeding disorder like hemophilia should not go for it. Someone who's already had a previous allergic reaction to some other vaccine should also actually avoid taking the COVID vaccine. Also, very important, sorry, that someone who got the first dose and got the allergic reaction, then please avoid the second dose then.
Okay, they should probably consult their physician and then.
Of course, consult the physician, get treatment for the allergic reaction. But once the allergic reaction has been treated, 12 weeks have passed, so one might feel key now it's safe to take the vaccine. But no, you had an allergic reaction, so therefore don't take it.
Okay. And so a person who's just given birth to a baby, like probably say within a year, can they take a vaccine?
No, they'll still be might be breastfeeding their baby, so
Okay.
it's avoidable to not to go for it.
Okay. And so one person's like, it's not the final vaccination, right? It's just a trial. So is it necessary to take it?
Yeah, it's necessary to take it because I like to give data so that data might feel complicated or maybe I'm making the issue complex, but you can't mess with data. The facts are the facts.
Hmm.
So these vaccines have been available since last year, and it's been shown that people have really benefited from vaccines. There was a study done in India, in Delhi, and that was done on resident doctors like me who've been working in the COVID centers. So they were all tested whether are they really immune to the virus once they've got the vaccine or not. So when they tested people who had not got the vaccine, less than 50% had immunity against the coronavirus.
Oh.
But after the vaccine protocol had been completed, more than 70% were immune to it. And by any chance, if they had already got the infection in the past and then they had been given the vaccine, 98% were immune after that. So I really feel you should go for the vaccine, whether you got the virus before or not, whether you're hesitant or not. I would feel ki one should ignore rumors. There's a lot of data out there now which supports getting vaccinated.
Yeah. The next question is, people who take Ayurvedic medicine, can they take a vaccination? Will it cause any allergy?
See, allergy is not related to your Ayurvedic medication. Anyone can get an allergic reaction. That depends on your immune system. And the immune system is so complicated that there's no way to test it beforehand in a very, in a very, in a way which really gives you a confirmed answer what will happen. So I would say if you've got allergic reactions in the past to vaccines, then you avoid the vaccine. But if you're taking Ayurvedic medication, you can go for the vaccine. In fact, you should go for it, therefore.
Okay. I think this also we did answer, you did answer. How many days after recovery from COVID should we take the COVID vaccine?
See, now people, there's no clear-cut data on this, but the consensus is 2 to 4 weeks is what you should wait for. AIMS is recommending 2 weeks is sufficient. So that's what I would also suggest.
So 2 weeks after we test negative
Negative,
again, then we can take the
yes.
vaccine. And someone's asking, is it better to consult a doctor before taking the vaccine?
Not really, because the guidelines are very clear-cut. Like I've told, in what conditions you should not go for the vaccine.
Mhm.
Besides that, you can go for it.
Yeah, another thing was like, can pregnant ladies take the vaccine?
No, pregnant ladies at this point of time are not supposed to take the vaccine, and even people below 18 years of age should not take the vaccine.
Yeah, I don't think they'll be allowed only, no?
Yeah, they're not allowed, but therefore don't go to the vaccine center to find out also. It's very clear you're not allowed to take it. So don't go to a place which is bound to be crowded at this point of time.
So we had two generic questions which popped up also. I'm just asking them too. One was,
Sure, sure.
will the symptoms show in just one day of the contact of the virus?
Uh, Actually, one can't be sure about it because the virus is spread out so prevalent so much in society now that how do you determine when you got the virus? So what is being assumed is that it takes up to 5 days for the virus to become symptomatic. So
Mm-hmm.
theoretically, yes, even on the first day you can be symptomatic, but that really has no basis, and it's very difficult to say on when exactly you got it.
Okay. And what about the asymptomatic people?
Asymptomatic people are majority of people who are getting COVID are still asymptomatic as of now. So if you come in close contact with someone who's a confirmed case of coronavirus, it's better to get yourself tested, whether you have symptoms or not.
Okay. Okay.
Everyone who comes in contact with anyone should get a test.
Yeah. It should not be ignored until we develop some other symptoms or anything like that.
Don't hesitate at all, because once you get a test, you'll be aware of it. Any breathlessness or any cough or weird symptom you get, you can straight away go to the doctor without hesitating. Therefore, results also take time to come. If you're symptomatic, you're given a report, and you're still waiting and you're still tense and you can't approach a hospital without that report, therefore one should not hesitate in getting a test done.
Yeah, sure. And then another thing was, what is the diet that we should take in general for prevention, or should we put in a steam? Anything in particular in terms of food thing?
I would suggest you eat normal healthy food, as of like we're always going ahead with normal diet. There's nothing specific as such out there. There are reports that vitamin D helps against coronavirus. It says it strengthens your immune system, but there's no clear-cut indications for such. I would suggest increase your vegetable and fruit intake. Fruits and vegetables, especially red, yellow, orange fruits, a lot of antioxidants in them. They are also supposed to help the immune system. So these days, you in the summers, you get lot of fruits. Get mangoes, bananas, papayas. Eat those. Those will definitely help. But there's nothing. There's no magical cure, and nothing will happen in it. Like you can't click your fingers and suddenly benefits will come. In fact, the benefits of these fruits are such that you should always have these because antioxidants help in a variety of diseases. Therefore, go for it. Avoid fast food, avoid junk food, avoid soft drinks. I think let's just stick to those things.
You've actually answered all the questions here, the tiny, miny questions that we got. Yeah,
Sure,
most
sure.
of them were this thing only, Covaxin or Covishield. Which one, which one, which one?
No, no, no.
Yeah.
Please, please, everyone be very sure about it. Any vaccine that you get is better than no vaccine. So take it.
Okay. So I think we've covered most of these questions.
I want to give this message ki even once you get the vaccine, you can still get the infection. Like we discussed, all the vaccines are 100% effective against hospitalization. You
Hmm.
can still get the virus, and therefore you can still spread the virus. So even after getting vaccine, your social distancing, your antivirus behaviors, your measures, they should not change in any way at all. That's very important.
Yeah, it's like कि vaccine ho gaya, I'll just go roam out and stuff.
Yeah, that's one reason that we were getting relaxed in February and March, that the current wave is coming and all. One should be very alert. This virus is very pathogenic, it's very insidious, it's everywhere right now. Prevention is therefore very important, and our behaviors should remain the same. One should not drop our guard.
Yeah, and I've been seeing on net that vaccination also has nothing to do with periods, menstruation cycle, and stuff like that. Nothing.
No, 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 no. Please don't get into false rumors. You can take it. Like I told you, there are very clear-cut guidelines where you're not supposed to take it.
Correct.
Stick to those, and nothing will happen regarding your other health concerns or your other bodily functions.
Okay. So thank you so much. But your top three to-do guidelines that you want everyone to follow right now in this situation, what are they?
What I would follow is please don't get into rumors. Take any vaccine which is available. Don't be worried. Serious adverse effects have not been reported the way it comes out in the media. After taking the vaccine, please be alert. Be alert, most alert for allergic symptoms. Watch out for rashes, watch out for itching, watch out for swelling of the lips, of the tongue, of the throat, difficulty in breathing. That is the time you should go to a doctor. And even after taking a vaccine, wear masks, follow social distancing, and we understand, and even tell the person who's not taking vaccine, please educate your near ones, tell them the benefits of the vaccine, and spread the message that vaccine hesitancy is actually hurting us. So vaccination is the way to go.
Sarang, thank you so much for doing this.
Even if someone doesn't understand, the basic message remains that vaccine is a must, and social distancing is also a must, whether you've taken it or not.
Yeah. So in general, I'm asking, so how do you see this thing going forward? Like the next few years, how do you think it's going to be?
I think very difficult to make predictions as such, but one should not get into that false hubris that India is different than the rest of the world. We thought that second wave will not come, even though the European countries and all were getting it. So they got the third wave and even got a fourth wave. In fact, in some places it's right now in Germany and France, for example, even parts of USA. So we will definitely have waves after this also. It is up to us that whether how bad those waves get, how better prepared we are, how much we control the situation then. So therefore, one or two ways of preventing such real horrible situation like we are in right now is to get vaccinated, not to drop our guard, and even if you're seeing in the media that only 1,000 cases, it has come down to such low levels. It is just a lull right now. This virus is really very insidious, and it will mutate. New variants will come. So we should be aware that what happened to other places will come to us also. But of course, with better preparation, we can manage it better. It's not necessary that the situation gets out of hand like it is right now. We should keep reading, therefore. We should be aware of what's happening. We should keep abreast of new trials which have taken place, new drugs which have come. We should keep questioning our government. We should keep questioning our doctors. And I think being knowledgeable is the way to go ahead after this.
Yeah. Okay, Sarang, thank you so much.
No, really, my pleasure. And I hope everyone stays safe.